This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. It is General Leia Organa Saturday, early morning. To come, let us meditate like a Jedi after we chant. After we chant the meditation classics, Pure Golden Ore and the Cuckoo Song of Pure Presence. Now, the most sustainable way, now, goodness, that doesn't look quite right, does it? Okay, let's change that real quick. Please bear with me. Let's go to title teaser and let's hit this button. Select color. There we go. Okay, so the most sustainable way for us to physically chant is to practice diaphragmatic breathing. The easiest way to do that is to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce behind our navel. And that is as simple as touching the tip of our left thumb to its left ring finger and then resting the wrist upon the left thigh. And then similarly touching the tip of our right thumb to its right ring finger and then resting this upon its right thigh. Luminous mind inexpressible beyond conceptualization, as the light of the teacher is extolled by all, as a heart of experience is like gentle prince, resting in the spontaneous pleasure of effortless great completion. As the basis of all discipline such as love's moral conduct, luminous mind provides release in its every mode. It is like a Buddha's mother and the universal path. Without a Buddha it could not be accomplished. With it we are the way of supreme liberation. So there's two important points to explore here. Number one, there are two ways to view morality. And to explain that, I would like to drag you over to some visual aids. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. Let's look at this through the lens of archaeology and anthropology. Approximately 300,000 years ago, our ancestors of our Paleolithic ancestors enjoyed a proto-communism that promoted individuals being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Splendid. But what comes up must go down. And approximately 13,000 years ago, our Neolithic ancestors experienced the rise of proto-capitalism, which turned human morality on its head and encouraged us to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. So we can either be like groovy Qui-Gon Jinn or grumpy Mace Windu. So the groovy, in terms of Buddhism, I would describe as proto-Buddhism, and the grumpy I would refer to as institutional Buddhism. So the morality of institutional Buddhism is about the rigidity of vows and the fear of karmic retribution and the greed for karmic blessings, none of which are mentioned in the Buddha's eightfold path of enlightenment. But you know what is mentioned? Love. The path is 50% of the path is comprised of love. So let's take a deeper look at that. The Buddha taught that the four bases of mindfulness was the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. So it should come as little surprise that simply by training in mindfulness and meditation, we experience greater kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce. Mindfulness and meditation are the dynamo that makes enlightenment an inevitability. The passage concludes with the phrase, "That's enough, let's move forward." Let me push the right button. There we go. We are the way of supreme liberation. Our job is to notice and relax, to notice whatever comes up, to notice in a manner that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. To notice whatever comes up, be it external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Our job is not to chase bliss nor flee from pain. Our job is to, so as we relax into our exhalation, whatever pleasure or pain we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was melting into the simplicity of just physical sensations. Now, let's return to the Eightfold Path. The more we play with mindfulness and meditation, the more our choices and utterances and deeds flow not from contrived calculation nor from wild scattiness, but instead from love's deeply centered spontaneity. This can be described as right effort or effortless effort or doing without doing, wu wei, going with the flow, being in the zone, or expedient means. And this is also an effortless byproduct of simply noticing and relaxing in harmony with our inhalations and our exhalations. Let's continue. Subtle and elusive, this universal path transcends the duality of thinking and non-thinking. Without location or reference indeterminate, it is beyond all conceptualization. What are we to do with thoughts? Do we repress them? No. Do we repress them as a form of concentration? No. Do we chase after them as a form of contemplation? No. Why not? To answer that, let's look at some more visual aids. When we indulge our controlling tendencies to overfocus or overanalyze, we so exhaust our medial and dorsolateral prefrontal cortices that we trigger our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression, which is a drag. But here's some good news. Every time we sit in meditation, what we're really doing is taking a break from the exhausting habit of actively competing against our autonomic nervous system by overworking the front of our brain. What happens when at last we passively cooperate with the autonomic nervous system, whose core is our spinal cord? The anxiety and aggression of our amygdala is calmed, and the empathy of our anterior cingulate gyrus is gently stimulated, which is pretty cool. But the question remains, what do we do with the thoughts that we notice? Simple. We meditate, but how does that work? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to automatically access both the tippy top and the very bottom of our spinal cord. These two regions, working as a team, could be described as the core of our parasympathetic nervous system, which has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release during each exhalation to the degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void. When I was in 4th grade at Platt Ranch Elementary School, I was taught that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. So we have to ask the question, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand? And so we see that emptiness is just a a metaphor for the non-graspability latent within each exhalation. But what about selflessness? What about no self? Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever sense of self we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining. It's as simple as that. Let's continue. Without location or reference indeterminate, it is beyond all conceptualization. Unutterable, it has no color or shape in all sensory field. Intangible and inscrutable, it is inexpressible. Our job is not to believe in emptiness or not self. Our job is not to reason pseudo-intellectually about emptiness or not self. Our job is just to notice and relax in cooperation with our breathing. So we're not trying to believe, we're not trying to figure out, we're just cooperating with our own viscera. Whoever follows that path of the ancient ascetics becomes sick from attachment to that contrivance of active focusing. That rigid interpretation of the teacher's instructions is experienced as an arduous quest, as they chase a stream of beliefs and concepts as if pursuing a mirage. But this complete modality cannot be indicated by mere words. So once again, let's continue. And any grasping at so-called true doctrine makes a travesty of Vajrasattva, the archetype of simply noticing and relaxing. So once again, 9. Let us choose to be flexible instead of rigid, loving instead of fearful, rational instead of superstitious, laid back instead of controlling. Let us choose to be egalitarian instead of elitist, lucid instead of cryptic, cooperative instead of competitive, kind instead of cruel. Remember, every time we inhale, we are already wired to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which could be described as the core of our sympathetic nervous system, which has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. So we are already wired to walk the path of yin spiritual matriarchy. The only thing that's stopping us from doing it is our dangerous habit of actively competing against the process. Now, you might be concerned that I'm asking you to be stupid. What I'm asking you to do is to find the most sustainable way to use all the organelles of your central nervous system. Remember, the more we notice and relax in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds will flow from love's centered spontaneity. That is the key to effortlessly and automatically using all the organelles of your central nervous system. Purity and impurity is one inseparably mixed. Pristine awareness as well as bewilderment are indivisible. as we relax into our exhalation, whatever purity and impurity we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if they were melting into the simplicity of the same taste of non-graspability. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lucidity or confusion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if they were melting into the simplicity of mental phenomena. This type of unimpeded clarity of conceptualization, along with obstinate befuddlement, in and of themselves each feed powerful meditation. Whatever comes up, be it clarity or confusion, as long as we notice it and relax into it, not only are we free from its tyranny, we will quickly master the Buddha's Eightfold Path of enlightenment. Together, this eye of direct insight seeing directly sees merely an empty nothing, yet it is called the Buddha eye of omniscience. So know the empty nature of vastness without center or boundary, for here lies undiscriminating, powerful non-duality. Whatever we perceive as we relax into our exhalation, whatever we perceive during our previous inhalation could feel fleetingly less permanent, less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and less graspable. In fact, it could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although it could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. And so, yes, we can say that shit and Shinola are ridiculously different things as we breathe in, but as we breathe out, they both have one thing in common: the fleeting experience of non-graspability. Together, luminous mind and its habits are one inseparably mixed. All manifested experiences are generated by mind. And shine is adornment, neither accepted nor rejected, so simply let it be and enjoy. The more we notice and relax in harmony with our breathing, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds will flow from love's deeply centered spontaneity, which makes contrivance, trying to actively force things to be just so, obsolete. Now, science tells us that first there was matter and then matter created mind. And that is inarguable. As life forms became more and more complex, consciousness arose. Consciousness is the byproduct of neurological complexity. But figuratively, it could feel like it's the opposite. So remember, language is not 100% literal. All languages on this planet, in addition to literal statements, have figurative statements, comprised of similes and metaphors and hyperbole. Together, activity that is personally repugnant or culturally taboo, such as the 5 mental poisons or the 5 so-called unforgivable crimes, could feed the realization of powerful non-duality. For on this path of Anti-Yoga's purification, nothing is rejected, not even sex. So remember, there's nothing as purifying as noticing and relaxing, and nothing as good as having our choices, utterances, and deeds guided by love, especially love's deeply centered spontaneity, which is the byproduct of noticing and relaxing. Together. One's intellect could be harmfully conditioned by the... Let's try this again. My mistake. One's intellect could be harmfully conditioned by the elitism and rigidity of tradition and literalism, such as the three contrived analogues of samadhi's awareness, bliss, and love, as well as the dogmatic belief and doctrine, which are the delusions that undermine effortless transmission. Instead of such folly, let us abide in the spontaneous pleasure of the spontaneous free from Dzogchen, of the spontaneous free form of Dzogchen's great completion. One moment, if you please. From the top. Instead of such folly, let us abide in the spontaneous pleasure of the spontaneous free from great completion of Dzogchen. That's weird. Okay. Together, the core of sublime spontaneous awareness, imperturbable, unchanging, and unelaborated, which is the ambrosia of the timeless consummation that vanquishes the pain of any exertion, thus resting in the here and now. Every ambition is spontaneously fulfilled. There is no need to strive and strain to bend reality to our will. We do not need goals. We do need vision boards. All we need to do is to remember that our brain, our central nervous system, is already wired to notice the deficiencies in our lives and the solutions therefore or thereof. We don't need to actively make it happen. Simply by using mindfulness and meditation to generate love's deeply centered spontaneity, everything will fall into place in its own time, in its own way. Those who are drunk on the Kool-Aid of institutional Buddhism believe that we misinterpret this phrase and believe that we must repress all emotions and repress all thoughts. But that is a mistake. As we relax into our exhalation, all the perturbation we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel imperturbable. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever change we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel unchanging. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever elaboration we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel unelaborated. So the sublime is, see, the awareness is during our inhalation, or during our exhalation we sip from the sublime. Together. Hey, magnificent one, listen all and everything and experience, which shares the same empty nature of the luminous mind, is like an all-inclusive essential drop incapable of being controlled by the dualities of contemplation or concentration, expansion or contraction, generation or cessation, uncontrived, it is simply being. So, as we relax into our exhalation, all that we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as light. This inconceivable essence, chronologically always present like the sky, and locationally everywhere present like space, transcends ideas and speech. Excuse me. So, the practice of mindfulness and meditation can be explained in terms of how to do it, and it can be explained in terms of the benefits thereof. But the actual experience cannot be explained any more than one can explain the taste of a strawberry to one who's never sampled one. We are all wired to effortlessly partake of noticing and relaxing. We are wired to practice it vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. We don't need to theorize. We don't need to believe. We simply need to cooperate with our own body in a sustainable way. And for the next 3 pages, let's explore the synopsis, which is the 6 Vajra verses, also known as the Cuckoo Song of Pure Presence. The nature of multiplicity is non-dual, and things are naturally pure and simple. During our inhalation, we observe. During our exhalation, as we relax, it feels quite pure. There's a question. So Marv asks, hello there. Well, let me go over here so everyone can see the question. I'm going to tap button 8. And Marv asked, hello there, dear Lama. What message would you give to people trying to find their enjoyment in alcoholic intoxication? Thanks. Great question. So to answer that, I'm going to go back to button 9 and share a visual aid. Allow me to remind you of what you already know. The more we cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system as we breathe in the form of mindfulness, and the more we cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system during our exhalation in the form of meditation, the more our choices and utterances and deeds will flow. Not from contrived calculations, not from wild scatteredness, but from love's deeply centered spontaneity. Therefore, the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we will be effortlessly drawn to more sustainable behaviors. We will naturally want to get fresh air and sunshine and exercise. We will naturally want to sleep in harmony with our circadian rhythms. You know, going to bed before 12, getting up with the sun. These things are natural to us. The more the more our choices and utterances and deeds flow from love's deeply centered spontaneity, the more we will want to consume foods and beverages that are sustainable for clarity and emotional resilience. Many times in intoxication, people can be go on a crying jag or just want to fight the world. This is so frequently observed that it's found its way into popular culture, books, television, movies, and the like. Neither rage nor sorrow pave the path of peace. I would rather have annoyance than rage. I would rather have subtle blues than deafening despair. Consider, if you will, a sine wave. The amplitude can be wild, incredible highs, incredible lows, or it can be a very subtle wave. Meditation doesn't make it stop raining. Meditation doesn't make cruel people stop being cruel. It doesn't make foolish people stop being foolish. We're still in the world with all its vicissitudes, but we're able to cope so much more. So the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the less we will be drawn to intoxicants. So, once again, it's not our job to control others. It's not our job to, what's the word I'm looking for? Coerce others. Let's go back a few pages. So it's not our job to be controlling. It's our job to be laid back. When I was a child in the 1970s, there was a commercial for an auto part. I think it was it was a fuel filter. And the thing was, you can spend $5 or $10 on a fuel filter now, or you could spend several $100s or several $1,000s to rebuild your entire engine later. It's smarter to choose the oil filter over the entire engine rebuild. And the message that was relayed by the character in the commercial was, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. So we are wired to value the self-healing latent within our own autonomic nervous system. It is noticing it and being drawn to it is an inevitability. The only variable is when. So our job is not to stand on a soapbox and wax eloquent to our friends who enjoy consuming intoxicants. Our job is to be a friend to them. Sometimes we can love them in person. Sometimes we have to love them from a distance. When they are ready, they will be they will be drawn to our example and ask for help. And when they ask for help, we either help them directly if we feel that we've mastered the subject accordingly, or we hand them off to an expert who can already help them. So it's a waiting game. Now you might ask, what do we do with all the turmoil we experience as we watch our friends and relatives harm themselves with intoxicants? So here's the key. As we breathe in, we notice. We vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all that's going on within ourselves, all our perceptions of sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. All of them, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. You can tell by my nose that I'm a Jew. I'm a Yid. My ancestors are Red Sea pedestrians, or so I'm told. So which means I'm really good from going to anxiety to terror. When my partner is late from errands, I am wired by genetics to immediately picture her dead in a ditch somewhere. So instead of trying to suppress that, instead of trying to argue with that, I work with those tendencies by noticing them as I breathe in and relaxing into them as I breathe out. And that keeps me from falling into the trap of becoming controlling, and instead it helps me to be more peaceful and easier to deal with. Similarly, as we look at our loved ones, our friends, our relatives, and their enthusiasm to intoxicate, we can catastrophize. And our job is not to repress that or indulge that. Our job is to notice it and relax so that those fears do not control our choices and utterances and deeds. We do not do that through self-control. We do that by noticing and relaxing in harmony with our breathing. Now, if you are in great turmoil over the danger that your friends and relatives are putting themselves in, and it doesn't feel like sitting is 100% possible, then that is an excellent opportunity to practice brisk walking meditation, silently and mentally reciting the verb noticing as we breathe in, and silently and mentally reciting the verb relaxing as we breathe out. If you do not feel, if it's late at night, or if it's raining or snowing and you don't feel it's safe to be outside, then do your walking meditation on a treadmill. If you can't afford a treadmill, there's a technique I learned many decades ago, way back in the 80s, when the crust of the earth was still cooling. And that is to assume a wide stance and lean back and forth like you're a speed skater. And that's non-impact, and it's kind of like gives you an opportunity to practice noticing and relaxing in harmony with your breathing in a dynamic way that cooperates with the heightened energy of anxiety. And so instead of repressing the anxiety, the energy of anxiety, we harness it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so Morvay explains that in his city, sometimes students throw trash in the streets. Either A, they will meet with the consequences of their actions and be fined or ticketed or arrested, or they will grow up. Just as poop attracts flies. Foolish behavior attracts conventional consequences. Nothing supernatural here. You act like a dick and, some people are going to chew you out or you'll get in trouble with the law. Eventually, you will come to a reckoning. We can't outrun our autonomic nervous system. We can be distracted from it, but eventually we return to the natural mechanism of noticing and relaxing that is the key to wisdom and love. Now, I've done a lot of yammering, so at this point, let's see, where am I in the text? Okay, so let's finish the text. The nature of multiplicity is non-dual, and things are naturally pure and simple, being contrivance-free and the here and now, shining out in all forms, it is always all good. Thus already complete exertion is now redundant, and spontaneity ever natural. Having completed our opening, whoops, I chanted without sharing that with you. I apologize for that. We must move forward. Let us now shift gears. Let us sit as sustainably as we can. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the verb noticing. During our exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing. So if we feel fear that someone's going to harm themselves, we notice that fear as we breathe in. We relax into that fear as we breathe out. If we feel annoyance that people are acting the fool, we notice that annoyance as we breathe in. We relax into the non-graspable nature of that annoyance as we breathe out. If we feel self-righteous as we breathe in, then we relax into that self-righteousness as we breathe out. And we'll notice that emotions and love and foolishness and pride come and go like the seasons, or the waxing and the waning of the moon, or the rising and the setting of the sun, or the swelling and the sinking of the chest. Forever changing, one and all, there is nothing permanent to grasp. So considering our friends and neighbors who harm themselves and their environment through intoxication, we can be controlling like the Big Lebowski, or we can be laid back like the dude. We can be controlling like Grumpy Mace Windu, or we can be laid back like groovy Qui-Gon Jinn. We do not get there through force of will. We get there by cooperating with our autonomic nervous system, by noticing as we breathe in and relaxing as we breathe out. Okay, good question from Marv. No. First of all, we don't concentrate. We let our brain go where it goes. People are wired to do the right thing. If not immediately, then eventually. People are wired to do the wise thing. If not immediately, then eventually. We do more harm by indulging or controlling tendencies. So we love them and we be vulnerable with our love. And if our love for addicts gives us pain, then we do not hide from that pain. If our love for addicts gives us anxiety, we do not hide from that anxiety. If our love for addicts make us feel cranky, we do not hide from that crankiness. We notice, we vulnerably notice whatever emotions cartwheel across the stage of our mind, whether those emotions are interesting, boring, glorious, or grotesque. And as we exhale, we relax, and thus those emotions roll off our back like water off a duck. We are not indifference. We are loving in a sustainable way. We are wired to care. We are wired to give a flying fuck. And to do so in a peaceful, non-neurotic way. Eventually, their addictions will kill them or they will see that they need to make a change. And hopefully they'll reach out to you. You'll be a friend, a non-judgmental friend they can reach out to. And in addition to teaching them how to meditate, you can tell them of the Sinclair method. For while AA has an 8% success rate, the Sinclair method has an 83% success rate. And while that is not 100, it is much better than just 8. So between using a medical model for addiction transcendence and this meditation model to cope emotionally, when they're ready, you can be of service to them. Just as the leaves of a healthy plant track the motion of the sun as it seems to arc across the daylight sky, likewise, people are drawn to that which is most sustainable, if not now, then eventually. If we indulge our controlling tendencies, it only makes things worse. So we have to practice, we have to exercise the courage to be gentle. That is most easily done by allowing our choices and utterances and deeds to flow from love's deeply centered spontaneity. That is the effortless byproduct of a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. Marv, thank you for the wonderful questions, but our time this morning has come to an end. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Marv wrote, when I grew up, there was a lot of fighting in the student party streets. Now I'm cleaning some in those streets and observing. Thanks. You're welcome. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's dusk recitation, explanation, and practice of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.